divers gearing up for a deliberate mission to bring a car believed to be connected to a 1958 cold case up to the surface of the Columbia River.
Will an important part in one of the most baffling mysteries in Oregon history soon be solved? This whole area has been blocked off.
You can see over my shoulder the large crane on the barge that they brought into Cascade Locks to try to fish up the car.
The bodies of Ken Martin, his wife, and daughter Barbara have never surfaced. Are they trapped inside the family car in the waters of the Columbia at Cascade Locks?
$84 for a reading. Holy shit. You got something big there. This is the oldest missing persons cold case in Oregon. The Martin family goes missing December 7th of 1958. 5 of them, mom, dad, as well as 3 daughters. 2 of them ended up floating down through the Cascade Locks about 20 miles from here.
The body of Sue Martin had been found in the
But there's a rumor that the car went off here in the Dalles.
tire track leading into the river.
We're gonna bring you back into our morning right now and tell you all about the Martin family and our search for them today.
1954 Ford station wagon. And Barbara Martin had 3 beautiful daughters. Took fingerprints and photographed the body. A stolen gun was later found not far from the car. But if the Martins were the victims of foul play, who did it and why?
For families who have all but given up on finding their loved ones, this team is a last hope. Civilian divers cracking cold cases for free.
So Scott, I saw your cute little magnet over here.
Oh, jeez.
I think that's gonna suit you a little bit better.
That, wow.
I got 2 of those for you.
There goes my cell phone signal.
And,
those are awesome.
2
Thank
ropes for you. You know, with you being up here diving in this Columbia current all the time, you know that really doesn't hold you in place too well.
Well, it's, yeah, that was actually found right off the dock here. Somebody lost that. That's the only magnet I've ever...
Well, okay, so you don't even use magnets? Do you want me to give you a magnet or 2?
Yeah, sure. So I don't know if you remember, but it was about, I think it's like 3 years ago, we did our first dive together down here. Yeah. I held the camera for you, you held it up for me. Yeah. And I remember I gave you a gift. But he made something for you this morning. It's gonna blow your mind.
Christopher did?
Yeah, you ready for this?
Yeah, I'm ready.
This is gonna blow your mind. He made this for you. I don't think they exist anywhere else, but right
They
here.
do not, look at that.
Your own t-shirt.
I
Your
remember.
first ever Adventures with Purpose shirt. So I'm returning the favor with a search and discovery shirt.
I like that.
Which is hopefully your size. You're a lot smaller now than you were back then.
Did Christopher, your son, also make this one?
No, I made that. He helped me, but I actually, yeah, you can, I made that on the press, and it's as low budget as you can get. So
I appreciate it.
Yeah. You know, I like your idea of trying the 100-footer, because if that is, you think that's 100 feet? Yeah. And this one is probably a couple hundred feet?
That's 30. And this is either 2 or 500. I can't remember how big this one is.
I'd say we should try that one first.
That one? Okay.
Yeah, do you remember how it all goes together?
I do.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Here,
the...
look. I'm supporting you.
I just need to
Got
change.
your shirt on today?
That's what you need to find metallic items on the bottom of the ocean. This is where all the electronics are up in here. And this is filled with a lighter fluid. And then this is just to allow it to fly through the water.
the book come out before you started searching or after?
I'm actually in the book.
Okay.
I'm way up high on the, these are gnarly, look at these. That one right there, the country sedan, okay.
Yeah. And so actually, if you look to, I really want to find one. I mean, it's such a rare vehicle.
You know, if that anchor hooked into the back here somehow and ripped off this structure here, I don't immediately recognize any parts, but if we go down there today, we should be looking for those hinges or the latches. I am 100% convinced it'll, you know, the body panels might be rusted out, but you know, the tires will be there, the motor will be, the windshield. I mean, this is thick, heavy steel. That gun I brought that was 200 years old, I mean, the steel is still intact and it's way thinner than what is on this, you know, American-made monster.
Now we have J.B. Fisher, who has probably written the most extensive book, I'm going to say, about the case of the Martin family. So can you kind of give us the rundown of, we met up before, working this case down in Cascade Locks is where we initially met. So kind of bring us into two different theories that we have, kind of the backstory of when they went missing and...
Yeah, so this is December 7th, 1958, when they went out looking for Christmas greens out to the gorge, and sometime in the afternoon they were seen at a diner over in Hood River, and that was the last time they were seen. And then pretty much when the two bodies of the young girls, the youngest daughters, were found over in the western parts of the river, that sparked, you know, certainty that there was actually, the car was in the river somewhere. So there's a theory that they were in the Cascade Locks, and of course that's the idea that it was an accident, because the bottom line is, you know, they could have just driven in, stopped over there real quick after their meal and drove into the river. But the Dow's theory is much more intriguing, and that is what basically based on what one detective, Walter Graven, was doing with the case, which was he had found all sorts of intriguing evidence, tire tracks leading off a cliff, paint scrapings off of the cliff as well as a number of other pieces of evidence that suggested that the family met with foul play and that their vehicle was pushed off of the cliff over here in the Dalles.
Okay, now bring us into the timeline of, there's a story about a boat with an anchor. Yeah. They possibly saw a vehicle or clothing?
Yeah, so this was right around the end of April of 1959, so just a few months later, and this is right before the two young girls' bodies were recovered, like just a couple of days before. And several workers were off of the aluminum plant over here putting anchors down in the river, and they hit on something metal, and they said it was really large, like a car, and they started to pull it up and it came off. And right around that time they saw what looked like a bundle of clothing kind of pop up out of the water there. And Detective Graven, when the two girls were found downriver a couple days later, did all the math on the flow of the river and everything, and said that it fit exactly the time frame for when if the bodies had been released from the car at that time, if the car had been unsettled and tossed around a little bit, and the youngest girls came up, then that would be the right time frame.
I know where that is, and that's where we're going to start our search.
And so our initial search together was further upstream from where the story is.
We were even further upstream. We also had the theory that, you know, this river can run backwards at times. If you get the dam dumping a lot of water over the spillway, you literally can get a back eddy right under the cliff. So for a few minutes, that car could have splashed into the water and actually floated slowly upriver before it sank. Right. The chances are it would have hit the water. I mean, you've seen cars that have floated downriver for half a mile. I don't know how long that car could float, but it certainly was buoyant for a while, which makes it even more challenging, because if it just went straight down, it would have tumbled down the cliffs. And you know, if you look at those cliffs over there on the other side of the river, they're stair-stepping down from 200 feet, and that's what it does there. It drops down to about 30, and then there's a little shelf, and then 60, a shelf, 90, and it keeps going to almost 200 feet in that area. So a buoyant car could sort of bounce its way down those cliffs, and it could be nearly impossible to find. That's why this is going to be the saving grace. Having a magnetometer can isolate the spots that we need to look, instead of just randomly going, you know, at 30 feet and drifting, and then 60 feet and drifting down the area. We can literally now find a hot spot where there's metal, and if we can tune that down to something that's, you know, that big wagon size, we should be able to get a couple spots today. So right off the end of this dock, Jared, I found I was diving one day and I found a refrigerator. And this is not a joke. I found a refrigerator and it was all tied up with rope.
Holy crap.
Yeah, and I didn't have a GoPro at the time, and I thought, well, I don't know if I can find this again, so I better look and see what's in it. Right. So I cut the rope off, and it was all strapped down, and inside, like, all this white matter and stuff came popping out at me, and it was like fish bait or in plastic bags, but When you find a refrigerator at the end of a boat ramp,
That's tied up.
It's tied up.
Off the dock.
Yeah.
Just whoop. Yeah, I would question it.
So this is actually one of my favorite places to dive. And a couple years ago, I was down and there's a sunken boat that's at about 60 feet. It's pitch black, there's lots of current. And I shine my light over and I literally see these stack of silver bars. I mean, they are just like silver bars you'd see in a shipwreck. So I start waving the silt off of them and I think, oh my, this is one of those moments. I mean, this is literally happening. And I pick one of them up and I immediately know it's probably not silver because it's heavy. And they turn out to be this special kind of steel called billet steel. There was a big stack of them and I brought them all up. I put them in my bag and the only way I could get them up from 60 feet to the surface was to walk in my fins up the side of the bank and kind of walk out with them because they were too heavy to float and too heavy to, and I wasn't leaving them behind because I knew there was something, but it's a special steel made for, they melt it and make bearings out of them. So we're already in 120 feet right here.
It's insane.
If you look up on the left, you'll see a blue dot on the rock up there that was painted by the sheriff department during a search one time.
Is that the dot from the 50s, or
No.
did they search later on?
Later on, that dot was not there. I mean, in the 50s, you would not be able to tell that this had anything to do with any case other than just a few people who were looking here.
So just left of that looks like it's like perfect launch site.
Almost like a ramp right there, too.
You can easily walk that right back to the main road without any issues at all. So a car could be driven or pushed right off of that. And I'm surprised that more cars haven't been driven or pushed off in here.
And so in relation to that location, where did you find the other car parts down here?
So if you imagine a car, it would have landed right about here in the boat. And we're right now we're at 35 feet of water. And then it probably had a little bit of forward momentum. And you can see the current is already moving, it's moving us down. So now we're in 32 feet. So I dropped down here in scuba and I went down, you get 30 giant boulders. I mean, it's just shocking how big the boulders are. And now we're getting down to 68 feet. So right about here, right about this area right here is where there's a big pile of car parts. So did a barge do anchoring maneuvers here and hook it and drag it out further? It's hard to say.
They're actually in my shed. They're covered in a lot of mud and gook, and a lot of it's come off now. And now you actually, at first it was hard to tell how old they were, and now they do look like machined parts. At first they looked like they could be older because they had a bunch of wood kind of jammed in. It looked almost like crafted, but it looks, now you can see some screws sticking out and some circular sort of bolts.
So you don't feel as though it's the Ford that we're looking for?
It's hard to say.
They're made of wood though, that
well,
was
there is that wood piece, but it came out, and I was wondering if maybe that was something that got lodged in when it was underwater, because it came out and it's not clear that was, I mean, at first it did look like they were like metal on top of wood that was sort of neatly fitted, but I don't know that that's the case.
So let's come back to that. I mean, based on that, based upon the blue, based on the launch site, based on the car parts, and you've not ruled it out, I just don't know why you haven't ruled it out yet.
Well, I am sort of a car guy, but I'm not a car expert. I've actually handled a lot of them, I've seen them, and I guess I wouldn't rule them out. There might be pieces and parts, but if they are, I wouldn't be surprised because that's where we think the car went in. But where's the car?
Where's the wheels? Where's the engine?
Where's the rest of it? So if the barge picked it up there, and maybe it hauled it out there into the deep waters, and we just haven't done the deep water yet.
But the barge is only from December to April, so it's still going to be a whole car. So it wouldn't just be pieces and pieces.
No, I don't think that. Yeah.
Well, Scott's point about the potential if the barge anchor hit on the lift gate and pulled that off, and then that was there and the rest of the car somehow was rolled and moved to further out, maybe that would just be those parts sitting there, and then the rest of it going further out. So that could explain why the whole thing wouldn't all be in one place.
So you see those two white markers there. I thought, at one time I thought, that looks like the end of a road. There was sort of a little board there, and The hot water pipe is right in this area here. And the reason we decided to dive it was because we got a sonar image that looked like a car. You're like, it just looked like a car. I'm gonna go back upriver and go where we were and see if I can find that. But when we got down, it was 100% rock. I mean, that's the problem. This whole area is filled with thousands of rocks the size of cars.
Yeah, I remember. I've been down there. So what is the purpose of the hot water pipe? What's it doing?
I believe it was the outflow of the aluminum plant.
Yeah.
So they were dumping
Waste.
aluminum oxides or whatever was part of the aluminum process back in the 50s. And then JB will tell you what they found on the bodies when they discovered the bodies downriver.
Yeah, they did find traces of aluminum and other kinds of contaminants. That
So that means the car has to be below the outflow.
Well, probably, but the other thing is the bodies did, were drifting downriver, and I'm not sure how long they were sitting here, but they, if they were in the vicinity, there may have been, I don't know, what do you think, in the eddies? Could there have been contaminant?
Yeah, I have.
Around over here, upstream.
I mean, if this was an outflow of an aluminum plant and the river was really going hard, you would get a back eddy here.
Yeah.
I've dove here when you
Yeah,
jump
that back
in, you
eddy's
actually
strong,
get
right?
pushed up. Yeah, a flume could go up a ways, but it's, again, these are all, I mean, what kind of aluminum did they find on them? Like just sort of a black aluminum, white aluminum, I mean, what?
Yeah, I mean, it's not clear from the report exactly. A lot of the science at that point reads pretty vaguely, but it said that there were traces of aluminum and other contaminants from the, from what could have been from the plant.
And I feel like some of these comments can become legends. Like we're continuing with these legends by even me saying, oh, it was aluminum oxide, and then the next person in the telephone game says, well, we heard they found aluminum oxide on the bodies.
Now, we also have a couple of other theories. Theory is that somehow their son was involved from a weapon that was stolen years earlier from Meyer and Frank that he used to work at, and that he, even though he was back east, he may have had somebody take care of them.
So that kind of comes to this question of these ex-cons who were seen at the diner where the family was eating, and Detective Graven went during his investigation the next spring over to Dallasport, right over here across the river, and he met with this guy who was who's known as Slim Bennett, who was a big wig kind of underworld character in Portland in the years prior to that, but he was very much connected with the two ex-cons, and one of the ex-cons had stolen the car from California and drove it up here, and that was found abandoned near Cascade Locks, not far from the gun. So there were all sorts of weird clues that Detective Graven had.
Now there was blood on the gun too, was there?
Yeah,
but no DNA back then?
No, the butt of the gun was damaged. It looked like it had hit up against something and there was blood. It was given to the sheriff of Hood River by the person who had found it, just a civilian, and promptly returned. They didn't investigate it, they didn't do anything with it. But that gun's serial number matched the serial number of the gun that was stolen from Meyer and Frank department store over in Portland by the son, who was the older brother of in the family, who was, like you said, not there on the day of the...
And he's since passed away, and his family wants nothing to do with the search.
Well, it's interesting because I went and saw his family on Oahu in 2019, and one of his daughters, who wasn't there, wants nothing to do with it, but one of the daughters reached out to me and was very involved in trying to figure it out, because they didn't actually know about any of this, even that they had family members who had disappeared in Oregon until right before their father passed away in the early 2000s.
So no deathbed confession or anything?
No. And in my research, I've found that there might be other relations, kind of not directly part of the family, that may have been involved, friends of that brother, so that he wasn't necessarily like the culprit, but rather that he was in a kind of sticky situation trying to deal with his family being missing and potentially friends who may have been directly involved in that. So that may explain why it seems so kind of contradictory that he never came home during the search time. He said that his aunt and uncle were telling him to stay away, but then they said they didn't understand why he didn't come back. So there were weird contradictions that left a lot of people thinking he looked awfully suspicious. But
so if we were to do a couple passes with the mag here, and I think it'd be best to just probably pull it up, go upriver, and just drift like we're doing right here.
right, we are 23 feet off the bottom. And you have your sonar on, so you can tell me if we have a
48
keel
feet,
coming.
and we're gonna go into about 60 here in a little bit.
Yeah, I'm 30 feet right now, so.
80 feet,
Yeah, I'm at 30.
50 feet, 48 feet. It'll drop off a cliff here in a minute.
All right, let's keep your heading down there.
The speed okay?
Yeah, speed is great.
41 feet.
Yeah, and I'm still at 13, 15, so we're doing really good right there.
Leakage going on there.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about it too much until winter when it freezes.
All right, we got something coming up here. Okay, we got something
50
here.
feet. That was a little blip, wasn't it?
Yeah, redo that area and try further out and try closer in. Okay, we got something big right there.
See, this is where I
Huge.
always wondered about right here, because this is where there's a really strong current, right?
Yeah, because we were not on the bottom on that one. Okay, there it goes. It's dropping down.
Right there.
Yep. So there's the beginning of it. Now we're right over the top of it. Yeah, I mean, we are pegged out at the bottom. Yes. Oh no, you got something
50
here.
feet.
No, you got something big here.
Right there.
Yep.
It'd be nice if you got snagged on something. You pull it up and it's got like cream colored paint on it. And you're like, what
All
the?
right, yeah, so go left on it. Yeah, so you got something there. Yeah, we're down to 90. We're down to 95. We dropped down to
95 what feet?
no, 95 for our 91 for our reading, 84 for our reading. Holy shit. You got something big there. Holy. Yeah, you got something big there. That's our biggest reading yet. You get anything on sonar?
Not really, no. 140 feet right here. That is an absolute cliff.
Yeah, I'm 100 feet off the bottom right now.
Well, we definitely have two spots of interest.
I'll jump in that other boat and scan that and that, see what I can come up with. Yeah, I got that stuck. All right, well, let's just put this on the wall. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything, but you know, with it being 60 years, I think it'll just be flat. So what we just had was this right here. Looks like a car. But I'm not getting any additional reading to it. Yeah, right there. But it's too tall, I think. I think that this one here is, let me show you what I got here. This is the length we're looking for is less than, or like 20 feet. But, well, I don't know. That's kind of the length. Huh. But it's more, that seems more square.
Oh yeah, that's not.
More like a barge or something that's sunk, is what that looks like to me.
You see anything interesting?
Yeah, I have a scan on this one, but I think that the corners are too square,
Yeah.
so I think it's more of a barge or something.
There were like, yeah, there's some square.
Oh, you have a scan of it too?
No, but I've seen square rebar kind of stuff that is not a car, you know. We should definitely dive one of them.
Okay. I mean, since we're in the water too, might as well just hit the other one, see what it is for sure. So he's in the area of interest that we identified our big target on.
A bunch of rebar. The magnet was wedged in a rock.
Okay.
That's just such unbelievable terrain down there.
So how much metal then? Like
It was a bunch. It looked like it was old metal fence post, but it was rebar. So watch this. One kick. Whoop.
You are a beast, Scott.
he's got like 4 or 5 years on me too, maybe 6.
4 or 5.
How old are you? 52? 55? Seriously?
59 next month.
Are you really?
Yeah.
You're doing good.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
You're doing better than our 55-year-old.
You wait.
You got a good system
Yeah,
and a perfect boat for you.
it is.
Oh yeah, you got a little weeds on there, huh?
I'll tell you what. How about? Whoa, is that a flag?
Huh?
Look at the flag right there. You see that?
Oh yeah.
Flag. That's a gill net. That's a killer gill net. That's that net that's behind us, isn't it?
There you go. You're locked on. BB gun or 22?
It's a toy too. Yeah, so the magnetometer is working perfectly.
Yeah, no, it's great.
It was a giant fuel tank on a wooden board, and your magnet was just in the rocks again.
Really?
100%, yeah. It may still be in the rocks, but...
Right. Well, unfortunately, we did not find the Martins today, but the good news is we know that this magnetometer is dialed in. So that means that Scott and I, we're gonna be meeting up again. We may not have the cameras, but we will let you know what we find.
Independent diver Archer Mayo started looking for the Martin family car back in 2018 when he first learned about the case. And after years of diving and digging, he had a breakthrough.
The Hood River County Sheriff's Office recently receiving a tip that the car has been found. That car could be connected to the 1958 disappearance of the Martin family, including a father, mother, and their 3 daughters. It's a mystery that has haunted the Portland metro area for decades.
So we're talking about 50 feet under the surface of the water, 7 feet under the ground.
This whole area has been blocked off. There's a command center set up by the Hood River Sheriff's Department, and in the next hour we're expecting a barge arrive with a crane after a local diver found a car submerged in the water that matches the description of the Martin car that disappeared 66 years ago. And while there are plenty of theories on what could have happened to the Martins, over the last few decades, no other evidence or clues have surfaced in the search.
All day Thursday, the Mount Hood County Sheriff's Office has been trying to pull up a car from the bottom of the Columbia River that they believe is tied to a missing persons case back from 1958. But around 5:30 Thursday night, they had to call the search saying the car is much more buried than they originally thought. Even though the sheriff's office cannot confirm this is the car they've been looking for just yet, Mayo hopes this discovery leads to some long overdue answers.
And I'm really hoping that the survivors of the people involved, the Martins, can have some closure, and some of the rumors, the ugly rumors, can disappear into the ether.
The sheriff's office says they have notified the Martin family's next of kin that they are working on this recovery effort, but they do add that this is being treated as a criminal investigation, and they won't know what next steps to take until they're able to get that car out from the bottom of the river.
The anticipation came to an end at 3:40 in the afternoon Friday. The crane pulling up what remained of the vehicle, thought to be the 1954 station wagon the Martins vanished in 66 years ago. But what surfaced was just an undercarriage, axle, wheels, and part of the engine. Hood River Sheriff Matt English, who led the recovery effort, was disappointed but not surprised.
This is something that we kind of anticipated could be a reality. It's been in there for 66 years. And so, it's really rusty and really falling apart. And so I think they'll do more of a debrief, with the professionals. But it sounded like, whatever is left there is full of rocks.
The sheriff says he's not sure if divers will look for evidence still submerged with the shell of the car.
It was such a shock to hear that they pretty much think they found the car. So many emotions. I just feel my dad's spirit here today, and I'm so happy, but very emotional.
The wreckage was covered and hauled away to a secure location to begin the next phase of the investigation, combing through what's left for clues and evidence. And during the recovery effort, this, a bald eagle flying above it all, perhaps the spirit of the Martin family rising above their mysterious tragedy.
Now being at the center of someone who is starting to answer a lot of these questions,
Yes.
How does that feel as honestly a milestone in your career? I wouldn't be able to tonight either.
Yeah, it's huge. And I'm writing a book about this. I'm writing a book about it with a collaborator, and it's going to be like 350 pages, and it covers the 7 years. There's so much that's happened, and it's been so interesting. So that book should be available by probably November, we're hoping. So we're working on it now. There's a website, martinmystery.com, that should go live tonight. That's got some video actually of the car that I took when I was down there, my first seeing it. It's got all sorts of different resources. So martinmystery.com is a great way for people to then put their email address on, and I'll give them updates as things happen. But your question is, it's a big day. For 7 years, I've been so many times quitting. I've almost died several times doing this job. I mean, this is a very dangerous place to die. I mean, up until this point, for 7 years, this has been about me and me solving something. And the moment I realized what I was looking at, that this was a tomb of these little girls and these parents, and it really shifted around in a big way with me. And like I really started feeling the weight of what this meant.